electricity. Vibe on a different PR, till infinity. Steady on a different beat.
Tune in for the latest news, entertainment, and more.
Platform where all of your demands are met. Issue-based conversations about politics, policies, leadership, and governance in Nigeria and around the world. Join us every Mondays through Fridays from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. as we engage and interact towards setting the agenda for proper accountability and public engagements. The Situation Room is here. We welcome the roommates.
A very good evening to you. Welcome to the Situation Room, live on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Today is Tuesday, and today is the 19th day of the month of September 2023. Well, I want to welcome you once again. This is your program where we get to talk about politics, we get to talk about policies, we get to, move around the the centers on the existence of our people, especially when it comes to pushing out for those dividends of democracy as expected of us. I mean, when you support a system of government, you'd certainly expect to, gain or get all of the benefits that system of government comes with. So if we have embraced our kind of democracy, even though we're still learning through the ropes, but we expect to have some of those dividends, security of lives and properties, quality education, quality infrastructure, quality health care, just a functional economy, basically, where, the needs and the yearnings and the aspirations of the people will be met. And that's exactly what governance is about. Well, there's always going to be the place of politics, there's always going to be the place of leadership, there's always going to be the place of governance. And I've always said it. At the moment we're done with elections, we need to draw politics and face governance. And sometimes we always struggle to draw that line, especially, when we're building up to election. You find governors, moving around. You see people that are supposed to be saddled with responsibility of administering or governing their states are joining campaign trail. They will tell you, we have a deputy, we have a state executive council. But of course, I think we still had that conversation yesterday where we made reference to the issue between the Edo State governor and his deputy, Governor 𝗪𝗪 and Comrade Philip Shuaibu. He was locked out of his office yesterday, and he was made to wait and wait. At the end of the day, he had to leave. And I think about 2 weeks ago, we had the vice chairman of the People's Democratic Party in Edo State, that's Archbishop Okosun. He joined us on the show. And then we looked at some of these issues, especially in respect to zoning in Edo State. There's going to be a governorship election in Edo and Ondo next year, 2024. And it looks like the same script is playing out in both states. Well, coincidentally, they also share, boundaries. You look at what is happening between Governor Rotimi Akeredolu and his deputy, 𝗀𝗏𝗧 Aiyedatiwa. The fact that when the governor came back after about more than 2 months away for medical treatment, he came back, and the first thing he did was to reassign all of the media aides attached to the office of his deputy. We also saw the same script play out, towards the end of his first term, in respect to his former deputy, Agbola, who ended up contesting against him, by the way, on the platform of another political party. So we've got all of these things to talk about. But then we'll move that to one side. The issue between the Nigerian Labour Congress and the federal government seems to not go away anytime soon. Meetings. There was 1 day warning strike, 2 days warning strike, and it looks like the Nigerian Labour Congress is hell-bent on going on this particular strike. Remember, on the 6th of September, the exact day that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal delivered judgments in the suit challenging the legitimacy of the presidency of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu by the Labour Party, the PDP, and the APM. That same day, the Nigerian Labour Congress, they entered into their second day of their warning strike. Now they're back to negotiation table, and information that we got yesterday after meeting with the Minister of Labor, that's the former governor of Plateau State, 𝗪𝗵𝗲 𝗪𝗏, says that they couldn't reach an agreement, and they would always tell you that under the rules of negotiation, you would always find a way to bend. You bring demands to the table, and you expect to have like 10 of those items being attended to by the government or whoever you're negotiating with. And they'll tell you, okay, you know what, let us bend a little bit so that we can accommodate each other. I will take 5 of what you're requesting for right now. Give me more time. Let me accommodate the other things that you're asking for. And, you know, labor force should always be prioritized by the government. You can argue with me that, well, what is the percentage of labor force compared to the other people? But again, you also need to know that there are the people keeping the economy going, whether you like it or not. So you ask again, demand for 200,000 minimum wage, how realistic is that? I would be speaking with the Assistant Secretary General of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade ONYEKA CHUKWUDI, is going to be joining us on the show today via phone, and then we're going to look at some of these issues, especially with the negotiation that is going on between the organized labor and the federal government. How long are we going to have these constant back and forth every single day? You know, there's a meeting today, there's a work. I mean, we've not even heard of any walkouts. I think the last time we heard of any walkout or any confrontation between the organized labor and the ministry was under the immediate past Minister of Labor, that's distinguished Senator 𝗪𝗃𝗧 𝗪𝗏. But well, it looks like it's still honeymoon season for 𝗪𝗵𝗲 𝗪𝗏. It's still being set, you know, being welcomed. It looks like Comrade Ađero is still being friendly. I mean, you look at all of these things, and the tone of labor would always means more, ask for more. They look like the Oliver Twist, the proverbial Oliver Twist to me. They would always ask for more, because if you give the Nigerian labor people a minimum wage of maybe 30,000, for instance, and market forces, you know, means that prices of commodities will go up, you'd expect the labor to come back and say, this 30,000 you gave us is obviously not working again. Let us come back to the negotiation table. And one of the things that the Nigerian Labour Congress are pushing is the fact that you've removed subsidy. You need to also subsidize the quality of life of the people. Let the people go to work. Bring in public transportation. You know, let the people feel comfortable so that they can work. Imagine when you have a minimum wage that's not even enough, especially when you look at the purchasing power of the naira right now. The minimum wage cannot even buy you a bag of rice, and you have so many other responsibilities that you need to attend to. You have kids in school, you have house rents to pay, you have other utilities, you have family members that are depending on you, and it's even worse when that minimum wage is still being owed by the government. I mean, you look at some state governors that are owing as much as 9 months, 8 months salaries. Even some of the ones that are paying, they're not even paying in full. I mean, you look at, I was watching the interview of the ADC gubernatorial candidate for Kogi State. Yes, I think it was on Sunday. And then he was talking about the fact that in Kogi State, that maybe the last time anyone got a full salary was months or years ago. So people get paid in percentage. You get maybe 30% of your salary today, you get 45% of your salary tomorrow. What about the other percentages that were not paid to you the previous month? What happens to them? So you look at some of these issues, and then you probably want to reason from the side of the Nigerian, the organized labor. But again, you also need to know that the government complains that they are broke. The Nigerian people are asking, what about the people that are not part of the organized labor? If you get 200,000 as minimum wage, how do I benefit? Because the moment there's an increment in the minimum wage, I can assure you that there will be increment in school fees, in house rent, in prices of commodities in the market. So the people that are collecting the minimum wage are the reasons why they are incrementing the price of these commodities. But me, that I'm not collecting minimum wage, I will still go to the same market to buy under the same price. Well, I'm trying to connect to Comrade ONYEKA CHUKWUDI, the Assistant General Secretary of the Nigerian Labour Congress. We spoke earlier in the day. Yes, he's with us already. Good evening, Comrade. You're live on Milan 98.3 FM.
I can't take this your news thing now. Sorry.
Okay. Apologies. Well, I guess that was why I wasn't picking up earlier, but we already established contact, so we just get the thing done. I mean, it's always comfortable, you know, when you wake up every single day and then You read through the pages of the newspaper and they tell you, oh, it's difficult, it's tough. At the Nigerian Labour Congress, we need to negotiate with the government. The government will need to provide palliative, provide free transport. And hey, a couple of states are actually doing their own best and making sure that the labor force or the workforce at the state level getting some of the benefits that they deserve. Truth is this, you can't satisfy everybody. There would always be that point where you need to come around, you need to re-strategize, you need to realign, you need to, reach compromise. And I think at the end of all of this back and forth, you would probably expect that the government and the labor should reach a compromise so that the protest is part of it. I mean, as long as it's very civil, it's very peaceful. But sometimes we can avoid all of these things if we can do the things that we can afford to do, which means the government puts the offers on the table, there's a compromise, and most of the times it is not even reaching this agreement, it is implementing some of this agreement. Because I remember during ASU strike last year that lasted about 9 months, if I'm not mistaken, from February 14, 2022 to about I think October 10 or thereabouts 2022, Nigerian students were at home. And some of the things that ASU were agitating for is that some of these agreements have been reached 13 years ago, 12 years ago, and the government did not even play by their own part of the rules. So they go all out this time around. Hey, an agreement is supposed to be an agreement. Let me use the word of the immediate past governor of Rivers State, the current minister of the FCT. He says, 𝗃𝗃𝗃. Agreement is an agreement. So if the government says that let us stick to the rules, let us do this, we're going to do this. If you call off your strike, Nigerian Medical Association, we're going to do this, this agency, this body, we're going to do this, the Trade Union Congress, we're going to do this. Let us get these things done. So the government should also be honorable enough to listen to, play or abide by their own part of the agreement. If the labor says they want to go on strike and you beg them not to go on strike and you give some of the conditions and say, you know what, you're asking for two things. We're not going to be able to do both of them now. We'll do one, and I will promise you that the other one will do it gradually. But even the one you promised to do, you didn't do it. Not to talk of the ones you move that we're going to do gradually. So the labor comes back. They comes back biting. They comes back raising, their voices. And the government makes it look like, well, the labor is not considerate enough. I think everybody needs to be honorable, abide by the agreement we've reached, so that we can have some form of consistency. Because for every single time the economy is shut down, we may not feel it, but at the end of the day, the billions that we're supposed to make from the organized labor for that day is gone. I know a lot of Nigerians like holidays. So, I mean, I've always, had opportunity to interact with people during public holidays. And the kind of excitement that we feel, especially when the holidays is maybe Thursday and Friday. So you have Thursday, Fridays, you have like 4 days of weekend. And it's always very, very funny. So you have public holidays to deal with, a lot of them in the year, and then you have the NLC strike. So all of these things always affect the economy. And we're talking about an economy that is very fragile, an economy that's every little things that comes around often shake it, and then you have to find a way to find our feet, get balanced, and get going. So if there can be some form of coordination and gentleman agreement between the Nigerian Labour Congress and the federal government, let everybody come to the table. There's always been a reason to come to the table. Dialogue is an unending thing. You would always have reasons to agree, reasons to bend some of the rules, reasons to review even previous agreements, so that everybody can be at the same page. I remember Mr. 𝗪𝗪, I was always talking about we should stop talking about minimum wage. We talk about living wage, because you look at the conversation around the minimum wage. What does it get you? You have a minimum wage, maybe 30,000, for instance, that a few other states have actually reviewed this. I know for Imo State, for Governor Hope Uzodinma, I think he announced an upward review in the minimum wage to 40,000. A lot of people have actually said, well, election is coming, he's seeking for re-election, all of that. But the most important thing is that there was an upward review that was immediately, I think it's been implemented almost immediately. So you look at some of those states, and then you look at some of other states that are struggling to even pay the 30,000. And so it's a lot of problem. But then, the government in their own wisdom, especially at the federal level, should start asking this question. States should fix their minimum wage based on the capacity of what they earn. It's simple. You cannot expect Zamfara State and River State to be paying the same minimum wage. When you look at the fact that the living conditions in the states are different, when you look at the fact that the marketing forces in both states are different, you look at the quality of life in both states, absolutely different. Or let me say, for instance, Osun and Lagos. Osun State is not one of the biggest when it comes to IGRs in Nigeria. So you look at some of those things, and so the governor of Lagos feels I can pay 100,000 as minimum wage because of what I earn as IGR and what I also get from the government at the end of the month. And Bayelsa will say, because my workforce is not so large, I also get the 13%. I also get something from the government. I can also pay 70,000 minimum wage. So perhaps this is one of the things that the Labour Congress should start pushing forward, rather than the umbrella of, okay, let us have. Why can't states fix their own minimum wages? Although there will be a benchmark, or let me say, yes, you probably say no states should go lower than 50,000. So some states can pay 70, some states can pay 120, some states can pay 150,000, depending on what you earn. So when you say all states should pay minimum wage, you're limiting the possibilities of some states that can even pay more. I mean, I'm just looking at some of the demands that the Nigerian Labour Congress are pushing forward. I mean, they're right in front of me right now. They're all over public space. And all of these things are not even rocket science. They're things that the government can actually listen to. If they're really intentional about I'm within the private, I don't benefit from it. That's not true. You have relatives. You have one or two persons that is connected with you. Maybe your tenant, maybe someone that you're into business with, someone you buy something from. So at the end of the day, it trickles down to the economy. And once there's a lot of money in the economy, I know states in this country that they literally survive. They call them how do I put it now? The labor states. Once the salaries are being paid at the start of the month, there's so much buoyancy. I mean, people go to the markets, people buy things. There's a lot of money in the states that is moving around. Those states, they call the civil servant states. So the more the salary finishes, the purchasing strength of the people also reduces. People stop coming to the markets to buy things. So those kind of states are unique states. They call them the civil servant states. Once salaries are being paid, you know that salary has entered. Everybody goes to the market. There's a lot of activity. People buy things. People, complete projects. I can't remember which of the governor now, but I remember clearly in the news then that when the governor came in and he decided to, clear out some of the outstanding bills and debts that he met, about 13 months and all of that. There were reports that people were completing their houses in that state. I think it should be in maybe Edo State or thereabouts. People were completing their houses. People were buying cars. People were building, because it was more like you were keeping the money somewhere, and then a new government comes up and pays everything. So you have a lot of money to deal with. But again, you look at the purchasing strength within those states. What 20,000 naira will buy me in Lagos is not the same thing 20,000 naira will buy me in Osun State, or will buy me in Zamfara, for instance, or to buy me in maybe Sokoto, for instance, or Katsina, for instance. So I feel states should be allowed to dictate their own minimum wage, but there should be, okay, no state should go lower than this. But then the ceiling is open, is limitless. You can go as far as you can afford to pay, and you can sustain it. In that way, it could lead to migration. People will feel like, in your states, they're paying 200,000 minimum wage. Everybody's right there. It's okay. That means the money will stay in that same state. Like they would always say, 𝗧𝗄𝘀 stays in Lagos. So what do you think? Let's have this conversation. Unfortunately, my guest was supposed to be the Assistant General Secretary of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade ONYEKA CHUKWUDI. We established contact, spoke a couple of times today. Well, he had to be in a meeting. He can't join us. Probably would have to reschedule that session. So talk to us. What do you think about states, fixing their own minimum wage based on their earning strength and their capacity to sustain such? If Katsina can pay 70,000 minimum wage and Lagos can afford to pay 200 and can sustain it without owing the workers, what do you think? 09136000410. I guess Friday came in really early today. Let's open the conversation. 09136000410. Let's talk. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
You're welcome, Mr. Ādɪrīᴏ.
How was your day?
Well, going well, and yours?
Well, Alhamdulillah.
very unfortunate we couldn't have our guest on the show today because I would have loved to have him 1 or 2 questions. But since we promised to reschedule,
certainly,
yeah, so
we'll reschedule probably before the end of the week.
Okay, but your problem, your question rather, that will it be better for each state to fix their minimum wage? I think it's the way to go. What Lagos State can afford, Osun, Taraba, Ebonyi cannot. They are not equal in any ramification. So if the governor really have the interest of the masses, their families at heart, because every governor should come from that state. And that means one way or the other the family. If they really have their interest at heart, they should do that. So that things can be okay. 𝗪𝗶𝗃, let me use this medium please to make this lamentation. Lagos State government is doing well despite the hard time, but some public schools are making life difficult for parents. The 𝗬𝗀𝗁𝗃 senior states are demanding a lot for the incoming GSS and the newly promoted GSS 3 to SS1 parents. They are asking them for enormous amount, which I'm very sure it's not going anywhere. Please help us call on the Commissioner for Education in Lagos State. Please, 𝗪𝗶𝗃, things are difficult. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jdrija. 0913-600-0410. I mean, because the guests couldn't join us, I just feel we should open the conversation. I've literally explained what the conversation will have been with the Assistant Secretary General of the Nigerian Labour Congress. I was going to ask some of these questions. Should the issue of minimum wage, should it be domesticated? Should states fix their own minimum wage based on what they can afford, based on what they can sustain? Or you think we should continue to allow the government at the federal level to dictate some of these things? Let's get talking. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
You're welcome. Please help me put down the volume of your radio set.
Hello?
Okay.
Do you hear me like,
I think it's better now.
Come. This is Olaiwola from Nigeria.
You're welcome.
Yeah. If you are talking about the minimum wage, then you are talking about the civil servant state. You make the time that Oshomole is the national chairman of APC when you have an issue with the governor of town. He mentioned that the whole Benue did not have industrial layout or they are not producing, they are only depending on the civil servant. The money they pay to the civil servant, that is where the activities will be more okay. But the issue that is where the issue comes from is this. The internal generating of the revenue of the states and the statutory allocation from the federal government is up to for every state to pay minimum wage. But the problem we have is that most of the governors did not even cater for the civil servant that they are using as a machinery to even get this IGR or for the statutory benefits they get from the federal government. Most of the governors did not do it. Let me give you an example. You know that in the Kogi state, since 𝗪𝗪𝗏 became a governor of the Kogi state, you have never sleeping in Kogi state. At the capital of that state, you have never sleeping there. And that can happen in different states like that. You see some governors there, you don't even like to even fast night within the state they are governed. But they are wasting the civil servant money to use to pay them for their civil servant, to pay them the national minimum wage. And they refuse to pay them. And they're using this money to vanish it in the hotel or with their friends. This is the issue here. Go to Benue State today, because that is the reason I'm using it as a case of study. Go to the local government. The money for the local government that is supposed to pay for the primary school teacher, the governor have already tampered with it. And most of the primary schools are also on strike. Like a year plus. What happened that Suswan did not even have a successor in the Benue State because inability to pay the civil servant. You have done that you just lose the election now to pay. Inability to pay the minimum wage. The only governor that complains in Benue State that paid the salary completely is only George Akume. And this thing happened to a lot of these governors in the whole federation. The money for the civil servant, they tampered with it and they didn't pay them. Even the time that the minimum wage is just 18,000.
Thank you.
Pay it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I feel if these things are domesticated, it's not even an option for the governor. They would have to pay. If the House of Assembly, domesticates it and pass it into law that, okay, henceforth, state B, state C, state D is going to be paying so and so amount as minimum wage, and then, it becomes law. There's nothing the government wants to do about it. There's nothing the governor wants to do about it. They will have to pay because the people know that, okay, this has been passed into law, and any breach of that, you take the government to court. It's as simple as that. I'm just asking, is it workable? Is it, applicable if state governors should domesticate their own minimum wage based on the strength of what they can carry? Because like I said, if the government says 30,000 minimum wage, there are some states that can actually pay more than that. So what happens to that one? Let's have this conversation. Hello, good evening.
Hello, Professor.
You're welcome, Chief.
Good evening, sir. I'm not saying on the line.
You're welcome.
I want to appreciate your efforts. In fact, you are talking, answering us again. You are doing a great job, sir.
Thank you.
See, let the truth must be told. All these politicians is a game plan. Get it fast, whether yes or no, is capital yes. Is their game plan. It's good for federal government to let the salary remain as a central. The same salary to all states from federal government. Are you getting me?
I'm with you.
If you go to the state, you collect the same salary. If you go to Kutonu, if you go to Oyo, Kano, Sokoto, the state is because they don't want people to achieve anything. That is why they suffer people. Use people's money to cater for their family. Use government money to build hotels. No infrastructure, no development. They embezzle the money. Who will catch us? Look at the way 𝗪𝗔𝗓 is doing now to advise, using veto power.
That's not 𝗪𝗔𝗓𝗪. That's 𝗪𝗶𝗃.
No, 𝗪𝗶𝗃, sorry. I mean 𝗪𝗶𝗃. In Edo State. Imagine that. Using veto power because I'm the governor. That is why they are treating masses like this. Forget about labor. Don't have anything to do. They are just using them. They've already told them to divide and rule. What do? Nothing. Because once they leave the salary to state to determine, they will be giving cover to people so that they will suffer more people. Because the more the people get money from federal government, or federal government dictate for us that this is what they will collect, people will be happy. By happy, people will not worship them. They will not be running after them. That is why they are holding people's salary, doing whatever they want, so that when it comes to election period, they'll be throwing on to them, throwing granite to them, running after them.
Thank you.
That is what they are planning for.
Thank you very much.
They've already achieved it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, like I said, it's not like it's a command or anything. I'm just saying it's just maybe I'm just thinking out loud, and I just figure out that some states obviously have more money than the other states. You cannot expect what Lagos State has and compare it to what Ebonyi's got. It's not possible. So rather than the government at the federal level to say everybody should pay an umbrella minimum wage of 30,000 naira, what if some states can actually afford to pay more? We've seen a lot of states pay 13-month salaries. I mean, towards December, you get like double salary with so many other benefits. Some of these states actually encourage their workforce to get into cooperatives and all of that, just to make sure that, the alternative means to supplement or augment your salaries. What about the state that can afford to pay more? Why can't the government at the federal level allow states to fix their own minimum wage, but put a limit to how low you can go? Say, the minimum anyone can go is 50,000. Let's say state like Ebonyi, state like Zamfara, for instance, state like Bayelsa maybe, they can afford to pay 70,000 rather than just limit it to 30,000. A state like Lagos, state like Rivers, can afford to pay 200,000. Why can't you allow these people to fix their own minimum wage? in this case, like I said, there could be some really uncontrollable migration. People will move into these states in large forces, but hey, whether you move or you don't move, you don't get into the workforce until there are openings for employment. So moving into the state does not mean you partake in the increment in the minimum wage. It's probably just going to give those states more money. And somehow, some of the neighboring states, for instance, you're working in Lagos, you're getting your minimum wage in Lagos, and you're staying in Magboro or you're staying in Ibafo. So the people there will benefit because you have a lot of money to buy things within your community. I'm just thinking, what do you feel? Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
You're welcome.
It's Peter from Maryland.
Peter from Maryland, good to join us on the show today.
Thank you for the topic today. The real problem of this country is the governors. The governors, even though you leave it at 30,000, they will not even pay. Why should it be that the money that is allocated for salary of workers will not be used for it? We will use it for something else. They have hijacked even up to the federal government. They are the one controlling the National Assembly, controlling the House of Reps. It's getting out of hand. So it's just as if governors are not even willing to help the people. And it's terrible. No, I believe, as you just mentioned, we can just, the federal government can fix it maybe at 50,000, 60,000, and then the minimum. And everybody, every state organized to pay what he wants to pay. Lagos can afford to pay 150,000 or 200,000. Rivers and some other states. I think that is the best way to go.
Thank you very much. Well, it seems my my thinking out loud is quite an open conversation. I'm just saying, minimum wage, should it be domesticated? What do you think? Hello, good evening.
Hello, sir.
You're welcome. Your name and where you calling from? Okay, Mr. Paul.
The suggestion is going to domesticate it. But the kind of governors we have, they collect IGR, collect allocation, still tampering with local government fund. What kind of people are there? When they have self-aggrandizement, greedy people running this country, what do you expect? Even if minimum wage, and some of them are not ready to pay, let alone 50,000, 100,000. Look at 𝗀𝗃𝗁 government. 𝗃𝗃𝗁 has been in that place. Many meaningful things are done in that place. What is giving him replacement now? Somebody that take over from him and do whatever you like. There's no vision. You do anything, you see how people supporting government. Whatever government you are doing, is the best. That is the problem. If we, Nigerians, are not sticking with one voice, all those things will be a thing of the past. But we will allow them to do the way they like. And that's why the country is suffering. No probe. Don't punish anybody for wrongdoing. How can a governor be collecting all this? He cannot be able to pay 30,000. When we try to challenge them or accountability, they level one thing or the other against you. Just like what they did in Cross River State. When journalists want to, the man was the same. They are accused him of trying to overthrow the government. These are the issues. And we cannot achieve under siege in this country. I don't get it to where we are going. So Labour, all they are trying, nothing will happen. Look at the meeting, so it's dead work. Even if they are going on strike, this government, they are not ready for him. And when you go on strike, you know what they mean, you cripple the economy. So many things. What have we achieved from strike always? By Labour. Labour has gone in those days during Pascal Bafia and the other man like that. Where government listen. Not now. If they want to do that, they will do it. How much they go for collecting a salary? Okay, you know, if you are own state government, how much is his own salary? Commissioners, also assembly members. But to pay common minimum wage, they will not. Tomorrow they tell you we are practicing democracy. Let state be free. That's why I can pass for state police. Did they allow it? And what they were allowed to domesticate minimum wage. It can never happen in this country. Because when people are benefiting from bad foundation and nobody care, it will continue. So that's my take this morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. Well, on the 1st of September, the Nigerian Labour Congress actually gave a 21 days ultimatum to the federal government over the delay in sharing of palliatives, saying that it might be compelled to declare an indefinite labor action if the demands were not met. Well, in furtherance to the demands, the NLC mobilized workers for a 2 days warning strike on the 5th or 6th of September, partially grounding social and economic activities in various states, with banks, ministries, agencies, and departments closed to the public in so many states. Well, the NLC leadership has said that the action was in preparation for a total shutdown of the economy, which would start at the expiration of the ultimatum on Friday. Well, today is Tuesday, and today is the 19th of September. The ultimatum was 21 days. That means by the 21st of September or 22nd of September, the NLC would likely embark on the total shutdown strike they want to go on. Well, that's if they don't reach an agreement with the government. The Minister of Labour, that's 𝗪𝗵𝗁 𝗪𝗁 in Abuja, failed to reach a consensus with the NLC and insisted that the federal government must meet its demands in order to call off the 21 days ultimatum that was issued on the 1st of September. I mean, the issue of palliative is also being discussed, especially the modalities for which this palliative is being shared. You look at state like Borno State, for instance. You look at the way Governor Babagana Zulum has handled his own, palliative distribution. I saw that of Sokoto yesterday also. I mean, and then you look at the ones that are being shared in so many other states, where a pack of spaghetti is being shared within 3 different families. So I'm asking, if you give 3 families or maybe 2 people each a pack of spaghetti, are you going to come back tomorrow, or you come back in the afternoon to give them that for lunch? Or that's actually the palliative that they're supposed to reach the poor of the poor? That's exactly the way it was broken down. I also saw a video over the weekend somewhere in Akoko where the Ondo State Commissioner for Women Affairs was assaulted by a ward leader, where there were allegations of, the palliative being shared along party line. I think some weeks back also, I saw the video where some political party chairmen in Ekiti State were accusing the government, the APC government, that they are sharing the palliatives along party lines. I mean, some of these things are really disturbing. We must be very sincere with ourselves. And like I said at the start of the show, when we're done with politics, we should face governance. And if you won in an election in a state as a governor, you did not win, or you're not supposed to, perhaps, maybe in a state of 20 local government, you want 15 local governments. So you want to concentrate development on the local government that gave you a mandate. Yeah, I mean, that's a wrong way to lead. You have to put everybody together. So if palliatives are meant for the poor, it is not your own political party alone that has poor people. There are other poor people in the state across different political parties. So this palliative should reach the people, irrespective of your political divide. So when I saw the video in those states, yes, I think Akoko West, one community in Akoko, where the commissioner was assaulted with a chair, and I'm like, this is wrong. You cannot even assault people, gender or no gender. But again, you look at the reaction and you look at the frustration of the people. When, because I supported party XYZ and it's party ABC that is in power, and so you start to share your palliative and give it to party chairmen at the ward level to share, why would they not share for only the members of the political parties? So you put all of these things together, and then you want to also reason with the labor. But hey, like I said, if you look at the way this palliative is being shared in some states, then you start asking, where is Babagana Zulum getting his own money? Why is he giving families a bag of rice, a bag of millets? Where is he getting his own monies from? Where states that are supposed to be richer than Borno State cannot even, reasonably share these palliatives? These are the questions we need to ask. That's why I brought up that conversation. Minimum wage, should it be domesticated? 0913-600-0410. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes, this is Tayo calling from Ogba.
Tayo from Ogba. Good to have you.
Mr. Oᴘᴇyẹmí, we have English problem here. The nation fixes minimum wage, which means any part you work in Nigeria, they cannot pay you anything less
lower
than
than a certain amount. Exactly.
lower than that. Yes, you can pay higher.
Hello. Okay, Mr. Tayo from Ogba, I would appreciate if you can still call me back. I think your line of thoughts, sound very interesting. Let's get to talk. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Ope.
You're welcome.
This is Kelly from Mushi.
Oh.
It's a nice discussion. According to minimum wage, is the benchmark. National minimum is the benchmark. It means that any state that can pay higher than that is allowed under the law to pay higher than the minimum wage. It just means that no state can pay lower than that. But most of these governors, they are selfish. They always think about themselves and their families. They can pay this money, but they decided not to pay. They want to make people to be poor.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Kenny. Can I get a few seconds from you?
Yeah.
I understand how I think that was what my governors are not left with the option of paying more or not. They should be compelled to pay more. That's what I'm trying to say. I know that with the minimum wage you can pay more at your state level. What I'm saying is that laws should be made at the state. If the law is what will make them do it.
If the federal government has said it through legislation by National Assembly that the minimum wage is this. You don't need any law in the state, okay? The national law supersedes that of the state. In the state, the place where there is conflict, the federal law supersedes that of the state. In a sense, but they will not do it. On the issue of strike and labor, the Nigerian Labour Congress, this present one has turned itself to partisan Labour Congress. That is why they do, people will not take them serious. Things like 𝗵𝗃 up out of dialogue. They are doing it alone. Because the president of 𝗵𝗃 have seen that Joe Ajaero is pursuing another agenda apart from that of Labour. That's why they opted out. When they started, they are doing it together. But now they opted out because they have his agenda is different from that of Labour. They want to shut down the country. That's what the country does not have money. The strike is the best option. For what? Any meeting they do, went to the meeting with confrontational discussions. Labour don't do that. You go to a meeting with open mind. This Labour Congress has turned itself to a partisan person. Look at the executive. Ajaero. The executive, the president, the secretary is 𝗪𝗵𝘁𝘀𝗪. Third secretary, the man is supposed to be on the set today. Is 𝗪𝗵𝗁 𝗪𝗪𝗁 was the name. Some Labour Congress, Labour Party Congress, and they have forgotten that Nigerian Labour Congress is an umbrella for all Nigerian workers, irrespective
of your political affiliation. True.
That's it. No, so Ajaero is a partisan man. Even the government, seeing him in discussion, they will see they are discussing their enemy. They are saying the face of Peter Obi behaving like him. If you are a Labour Congress president, you have to be selfless, carry all workers along, bear it in mind that the trust you are holding as the president is all Nigerian workers, not Labour Party.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's talk to other people.
That's it. Labour Congress to other things.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you very much. I totally understand. I remember the days of COMRADE 𝗪𝗪 𝗪𝗪. I mean, before the NLC got decentralized, if the NUT, that's Nigerian Union of Teachers, are going on strike, the entire labor will go with them. If the Nigerian Medical Association, if it is Pengasan, whoever is going on strike, whatever agency, that is part of the affiliate member of the NLC that is going on strike, everyone joins. That was, the late 90s, the early 2000s. And it looks like the decentralization of the NLC kind of, took some form of coordination from it. But a lot of, effort has been done by previous NLC chairmen to restore, the dignity of that particular body. And for now, it's still the number one, body that is constitutionally expected to put forward when it comes to fighting for the welfare of the labor force. So they still hold it. And it's always very important when these things are recognized and the strength of your numbers, especially. Let me talk to Ambassador Musbao. You're welcome.
Yeah, not labor. They have made the company of labor company. Honestly, they have made everything.
Comrade Musbao, are you still there? Okay. You can try and call us back 09136000410. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. This is the Situation Room. This program comes up every Mondays to Fridays from 4 to 5 p.m. Let me talk to Mr. Tunde.
𝗪𝗵𝗁, good evening. Yeah, 𝗪𝗵𝗁, thank you. You are doing a good work over there.
You're welcome.
𝗪𝗵𝗁, let me tell you something. Labor are trying their best. It's as if most of us, because we have war, we have money, we don't want to support labor. Labor are trying their best. My own is what will happen on the 22nd. And then Nigeria will decide where we are going to. But what I wanted to say is that I support all the callers that say that if any state have capacity to pay more than that, they can do that. I support it. But this time around, all the government need to look inward. They need to look inward. All the countries and all the state resources that they can, they look inward. They can use it to generate money. All the federal government cannot be doing this thing alone. Go to equity. But it is because all over the 26 states, out of the 26 states are being 26 states. Only equity I say no. What equity? Nothing is there. Nothing to generate in equity state. Let's say reality apart from education. Nothing there. Where the government is trying a little, but a lot of resources there equity state where they can look inward. They can go outside because they can pay all the infrastructure to come to their state and generate this money to help all these things. Oh, there's no money around. See what labor are giving for the government now. I don't know that whether that we get through. But my own is that if they have capacity to pay more than that, I support. But all the countries say they need to look inward and they generate the money. If they can see the money, they will have. Let me tell you from your 𝗪𝗁. People are not moving. I know normally I thank God for my own. I know the way people are disrupting me, but things are not easy. People. Labor is trying their own best. The only thing is that the federal government are using policy to break their wing. So they want everybody. I support. We are tired of that one. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, by the virtue of what I do or what we do, I've actually been privileged. I think it's a very rare privilege to visit, some good number of states in this country, and I can tell you for a fact that okay. Let me leave that conversation. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This is Gideon calling from Sweden.
Gideon from Sweden, you're welcome.
Yes, you see, I just want to correct one notion. There is no law that can compel any state government to pay more than the agreed minimum. But I need you to do a kind of investigative report. Even the new minimum wages as of now, maybe 30,000, if I'm correct.
True.
How many of those states
are meeting up to it?
How many, that 30,000, as little as that is, as meager as that is, how many of them conform with that? If you check, you will see that more than 60% of those states
are not paying
it. Pay that. Imagine that. Now, but my own observation is just that, you see, the vibrancy, the formidability in NLC dies in the times of Oshiomhole. In fact, I don't see any reason why the NLC should be given 21 days ultimatum again. He doesn't. In fact, these governments are not human in any way. They don't put any human consideration to their policies. They do. So there is no even need for you to consider them. Just when there is a total shutdown of the economy, they will respond. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That one is no room for negotiation. Okay, OT from Ota is texting and he says the state governors are already short of cash. How do we want them to generate cash when we can do it ourselves and build the economy? Only Lagos, which inherited federal asset, is thriving. OT from Ota. Okay. I would want to tell you for a fact that it is not only Lagos State that is thriving. I was going to say the other time, 2 weekends ago, I was in, within 2 days, within Friday and Sunday, I was within Ondo State and Ekiti State, back to Ondo State and back to Lagos. And I can tell you for a fact that I've always been of the opinion that leadership is not rocket science. It's not casting stones. The roads are bad, infrastructure, you fix it. I went through Akure to Ekiti, passed through Ikere, and ordinarily that trip is not supposed to be up to 25 minutes from Ondo State to Ekiti State. I ended up spending over 2 hours from a journey that is less than 25 minutes. And it wasn't that the car was bad, but the road was terrible. Really, really terrible. So it's as simple as that. You fix that road, economic activities will build up. I mean, and you look at it, there's an airport in Ondo State. Why do we need an airport in Ekiti State where you can actually be in Ekiti State from Ondo State in less than 20 minutes if you can fix the road? So these things are not rocket science. I just feel it's about being intentional about developing your state. It's as simple as that. Let me talk to, okay, I was going to pick Prince YS's call, but I would appreciate if you can try and call us back. Hello, good evening. Hello?
Hello?
You're welcome.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Abubakar on the line.
You're welcome.
Yeah. On this show of minimum wage, you are talking of either domesticating it. I think you should be, let it be an exclusive right of the federal government. If not so, some of this state government will not even review it. So we'll just allow it to be. So as you can see, just like some other callers are saying, Lagos are paying more than 30,000. Yes, and even the minimum wage, they are supposed to have reviewed it now. But according to when I heard the
NLC chairman,
yesterday, he was talking about January. He was talking about January next year. That all what they just want now is just for a palliative for workers. So, but the main minimum wage are not even what they are negotiating now. That shows that that is against next year, January. But the 30,000 naira, actually, in fact, government has to make a policy that any state government, if you cannot, you just have to look for means of cutting your expenses. But the salaries of workers should not be something that they will be politicizing with. It's all good. That's my contribution, my brother.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abubakar. The NLC thinks of the welfare of the serving civil servant, forgetting that they would also leave one day. They have not seen, and they've not seen it fit to fight for pensioners. As I'm writing in Ogun State, some people, apologies. As I'm writing in Ogun State, some people still receive 5,000. The pension is not reviewed for years. They should retrace their steps. Ayo Aranju from Ayobo. Okay, that will be about the size of the package on the show today. Unfortunately, I couldn't link up with the Assistant Secretary General of the Nigerian Labour Congress. He was supposed to join us on the show, but I can assure you that, God willing, before the end of the week, today is just Tuesday, so we still have Wednesday and Thursday and maybe Friday, to refix that conversation. Of course, the whole meeting between the NLC is ongoing, so there will always be reasons to get updates on whatever news or whatever information you need to know. Thank you so much for everyone that reached out on the show today. Interestingly, the show just went good. A lot of people had the opportunity to say what they feel about the issue of domesticating the minimum wage. And like I said, I know that the law permits states to pay more. What I'm just saying is that if states could make it a law so that it won't be the decision of the governors to pay or to not pay. So the House of Assembly look into it and we're making it, the governor would sign it into law, and for so and so state A, B, C, you cannot pay lower than so amount. They domesticate it. So the governor comes in, he leaves. Whatever governor comes in into the states will always meet that as law, and it will be open for upward review as the economy gets better. Hopefully, my name is 𝗪𝗵𝘁𝘀𝗪 𝗪𝗵𝘁𝗀𝗃. Thank you so much. Tomorrow is Wednesday. It's going to be the midweek edition of the program, and I will be here. I will have something good to talk about. But before then, keep your dial locked on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. And don't forget that by 5 o'clock, the headline news will come through. By 5:30, the full bulletin. And by 6 o'clock, Wale Adigun and the Sport Gang will be here to give you everything you need to know in the world of sport. It's going to be the Sport Cruise on mainland 98.3 FM. Stay out of trouble. And when you see something, you say something. Have a very good evening.